A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Star Wars, Trade Winds, The Ranat's Tale, by Rebecca Moesta, 1995. A short story from the anthology Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. Edited by Kevin J. Anderson. Created and read by the Archivist Publishing.
Stay alert, troopers.
Dodging a pair of potentially meddlesome stormtroopers, Regesk clutched his treasures and scurried with rodent-like efficiency into the narrow alley beside his favorite drinking establishment in Mos Eisley. Ah, yes, his favorite. Not because their drinks or performers were of superior quality, but because he could always find someone there who wanted or needed to make a trade. And in the small Ranat tribe that scratched out a larger place for itself each day on this arid outpost world, that was, after all, his job. Regesk the trader, Regesk the barterer, Regesk the procurement specialist par excellence. Whiskers twitching with satisfaction, he sat against a sun-washed wall, curled his whip-hard tail loosely around him, and opened his bundle to examine the day's prizes. An oven-hot breeze carried the not unpleasant sense of decaying garbage and animal droppings to Regesk from farther down the alley. He had started the morning with little more than a handful of polished rocks and a few tidbits of information, and had made a series of successful trades to collect the much more valuable items that he now spread out in the dust beside him. A small antenna, some fine cloth with very few holes in it, a bundle of wires for the tiny evaporator his tribe was secretly building. These he would keep. But he had more bargaining to do yet. He still needed many things. A power source to complete the bootleg evaporator unit that could make his tribe less dependent on local moisture farmers, a length or two of rope, scraps of metal for making tools or weapons. From his perspective, he always managed to trade up. Fortunately, he still had a few items left to trade from his most recent bargain: a cracked stormtrooper helmet, a packet of field rations, and a Tuscan battle talisman carved from bantha horn. All this for only some day-old information and a discarded restraining bolt. He supposed the heat and dust could dull anyone's judgment. Perhaps the Imperial officer, a Lieutenant Alima, who was definitely not a local, should have paid more attention to the deal. Well, the officer had gotten what he wanted. Regesk shrugged. Of course, the old warning to buyers was valid. Always pay close attention during a trade. Less scrupulous traders tricked customers or tried to convince them to make useless purchases, but not Regesk. This despite the semi-sentient status the Empire had conferred on the Ranat race, had gained him a reputation on the streets of Mos Eisley for being shrewd but fair. In fact, aside from the bothersome local stormtroopers, there were few potential customers in the port who would refuse a trade with Regesk if he had just what they needed. Regesk's furry snout quirked into a dry, incisor-bearing smile. Well, he knew what he needed, and he knew where to conduct his next trade. The interior of the cantina was relatively cool, and the dimness was a relief from the moisture-stealing intensity of Tatooine's twin suns. The air smelled of musky, damp fur and baked scales, of nicotine smoke, of spacesuits that had not been decontaminated in months, and of intoxicants from dozens of different worlds. Regask stepped to the bar, ordered a cup of Ryden brew from Wooher the bartender, and scanned the room for a likely customer. A Deveronian? No, Regask had nothing to interest him. One of the Bith musicians who was just taking a break? Perhaps. Regask's glance fell on the familiar figure of a Jawa.
Perfect.
Regask pulled the hood of his cloak loosely over his head as he started toward the Jawa's small table. Jawas were private folk who believed in being fully covered, even indoors, and in Regask's experience, finding common ground with the customer always helped a trade. He was relieved to note by the scent, as he approached the table, that he knew the Jawa, Het Nikik, and had traded with him before. When Regask saw the band leader Figrin Dan signaling an end to the musicians' break, he hurried to get Het Nikik's attention before the next song could begin.
Regask suits Hetnikik and offers an exchange of hails or wares,
he said, giving his most formal trader greeting to the Jawa, who seemed preoccupied and had not yet noticed Regask's presence. Het Nikik did not react immediately, but when he did look up, Regask thought he saw a look of relief, as if the Jawa were happy to be distracted from his thoughts.
The opportunity for exchange is always welcome, and the time for opportunity is always now.
Het Nikik replied with equal formality, but the pitch of his voice was higher than usual, and his eyes darted furtively about the room.
Like both traders received a better bargain.
Regask finished the ritual greeting with irony, knowing full well that Jawas were seldom concerned with whether their customers were satisfied. Well, that was not his way. Cunning as he was, Regask traded only with customers who needed, or believed they needed, what he had, and he bartered away only items the tribe did not need. Regask's nose wrinkled briefly as he tried to identify the scent that hung about Het Nikik. Sensing what he could only interpret as impatience or anticipation, Regask decided against any further delay and swung smoothly into the trading process. He began with glowing descriptions of the bargains he had made that morning. Strangely, Het Nikik was not very enthusiastic as he spoke of his own trading, and showed Regask a charged Blastech DL-44 blaster in excellent condition. Regask did not need to feign either admiration or jealousy over the trade, since it was still illegal to arm a Ranat in the Outer Rim territories. It was difficult for Regask to bargain for anything that might be used as a weapon, and the DL-44 was a particularly fine weapon. Seeming to take little notice of Regask's approval of his bartering, Het Nikik allowed the trading to move to an alternating exchange of increasingly valuable information. The two traders were so engrossed in their interchange that Regask did not notice the Rhodian bounty hunter until he had bumped backward into their table, an obnoxious new arrival named Greedo. Regask made a grab for his brew and caught it as it teetered precariously at the edge of the table. He felt his nostrils contract in annoyance, as they would at an unpleasant odor. Greedo turned, apparently ready to excuse himself for his mistake, but he stopped when he noticed the table's occupants. The greenish tinge of his skin deepened, and the lips on his snout formed a sneer as he looked at Regask. He spat out, giving the table another sharp shove as he delivered the epithet, and then moved off in the general direction of the bar. Regask bristled, hurling venomous thoughts after the sour-smelling, green-skinned bounty hunter. The outrage of it, the insult. After all, Ranats were no relation whatsoever to the non-sentient Tatooine womp rats. Greedo was one person he would not mind seeing cheated in a trade. When he was calm again, the trading moved to the next stage, and Regask began discreetly displaying the items he was willing to trade. Het Nikik showed a mild interest in the stormtrooper helmet, But when Regesk brought out the bantha horn carved in the shape of a Tuscan battle talisman, Etnikik's excitement was unmistakable. Regesk, quickly searching his memory for anything he knew about such objects, managed to remember something of interest. The Sand People, he explained, believed a battle talisman brought them the physical strength of a bantha in battle, and gave them the courage to face death if need be. Etnikik asked to hold the talisman, turning it over and over in his hands, uttering exclamations in a dialect Regesk did not recognize. Regesk hid a triumphant smile. This would be almost too easy. It was unusual for a Jawa to show so much enthusiasm for an item being traded, since it might skew the bartering to indicate that the item had value to it. Regesk closed in to begin the negotiation.
The talisman is indeed of great value. Any exchange must equal its worth.
Etnikik's reverent expression turned to one of chagrin.
I have little with me today that is suitable for this exchange.
Regesk's heart began to beat rapidly as he smelled his chances improving. The Jawa definitely wanted to make a trade. Regesk slyly lowered his eyes to indicate the blaster that Etnikik held in his lap, hidden by the table.
The time for opportunity is always now.
The Jawa's hands clutched convulsively at the weapon, and for a moment he seemed at a loss.
I cannot meet such a high price.
He answered carefully.
Today.
His eyes did not meet Regesk's. He negotiated for a while longer before finally agreeing to an amount far higher than Regesk had expected to get.
You know that I am a skilled trader.
Etnikik said.
Here are a few credits to show my good faith. If you will give me until morning, I will meet your price.
6 sands. But could the Jawa be trusted? Regesk ordered himself to use caution.
I will bring you the talisman tomorrow morning.
He did not want to give away his own impatience, and he hoped the Jawa could not smell it. But the Jawa was firm.
No, I must have the battle talisman today.
Etnikik's voice grew agitated as he spoke.
I will pay the rest in the morning, but I cannot wait until tomorrow.
He stopped as if searching for a way to convince Regesk of his serious intentions. At last he said,
If you wait until morning, I will let you have the use of this blaster.
Regesk could feel his eyes light with intensity at the very thought of having such a fine weapon. Etnikik's eyes burned into Regesk's as he nodded to the weapon he held beneath the table.
Yes, I will let you hold it and use it. I am not afraid to arm a Ranat. Let me leave with the talisman today, and you will have what you need by morning.
Unable to pull away from the fervor of the Jawa's glowing gaze, Regesk reached out one paw to touch the weapon. Did he dare take a risk on the honor of this Jawa?
Always pay close attention during a trade.
He reminded himself. Finally, he came to a decision. At that moment, a commotion broke out across the cantina from them. Light and sparks filled the air, along with the sharp smell of singed flesh. When the air finally cleared, Regesk was able to make out the form of Greedo the bounty hunter slumped over an otherwise deserted table. Dead? Yes, definitely dead. This was indeed a lucky day for Regesk. He felt a surge of excitement, and his whiskers quivered with glee.
Yes, I accept the trade,
he said to the Jawa, who was still staring at the scene across the room.
Keep the talisman for now. Bring me the price we agreed on by morning.
Etnikik suddenly turned his attention back to Regesk. Without a word, he pulled the blaster away from Regesk's paw and stalked away.
Both traders received the better bargain this day.
Regesk called after Etnikik, but the Jawa did not seem to hear him. Regesk smiled as he watched Etnikik walk with such confidence toward the entrance of the cantina. He was pleased to have made such a fair deal. The Jawa threw challenging glances around the room, as he left with the DL-44 concealed beneath his cloak, one hand fingering the precious battle talisman. Regask emptied the remaining brew from his cup and stood to leave, inhaling deeply. The smell of the scorched Rhodian bounty hunter still hung in the air.
Very satisfactory,
He thought with a contented sigh. Moments later, he stepped back out of the cantina into the parched streets of Mos Eisley. Regask patted the pocket inside his cloak that held the power pack he had slipped from Hetnikik's blaster. They had both gotten the trade they wanted today. He had paid very close attention. And now Regask had the perfect power supply for the Ranat tribe's new evaporator.
This unabridged audiobook was developed 100% using artificial intelligence to generate realistic and familiar voices.